Now the moment we've all been waiting for.
I am Nate Riggle, and you are listening to The Way of the Bonfire. Hey, this is a follow-up episode to one of my most recent ones, The Forgotten Secret of Creating Space. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I had put on there 10 categories of areas in your life that you can create space. And it just, in my mind, I just kept thinking about the benefit of creating space and how it helps us to breathe in our lives. And I may have shared some of the benefits on that episode. But one thing that kind of has come to me as I've been practicing this more and more each day over the last week or so since I posted that episode of the podcast. You can go back and listen to it if you want. Or if you don't want, will be a shorter version, just reminding you of one of the other benefits of creating space that I've noticed, and maybe might even be one of the best benefits of creating space in these different areas of your life. And one thing that I've noticed as I've been doing this and experimenting with this and seeing the fruits of it and reaping the benefits is that creating space in your life is something that allows you to be challenged. And I know that's kind of going to need some elaboration, so let me just talk on that for a minute. But if you don't have room in your life for anything because you've packed it too tight and allowed things to accumulate so much that there's no room to think or to plan or to add anything else, one of the biggest downfalls of that is if something challenges you, if someone, maybe a good friend or an honest critic, calls you out on something, you're not going to have room to accept that and as a possible truth and say to yourself, you know what, you're right. Or you could be right. Let me see what I think about this. And I've noticed that the more space I create in my life, anytime something comes to me that I would normally have been defensive about, and now let me give credit to my therapist and to my wife and all the people in my life that have helped me kind of unpack that was a mechanism that wasn't serving me anymore. That's definitely part of it. But also creating space. I believed that I needed to be less defensive and less insecure and hard on myself secretly. But when I created space in my time, my life, my calendar, all the things that I talked about on that other episode, now when something comes up, there's room in my heart and my mind and my soul to say, you know what? I'm going to let this challenge come to me now. I'll accept it and see if this is something that I could work on and if there's some truth here. I think that's some good food for thought, especially if you've suffered the ill of defensiveness and being overplanned, over scheduled against your will, or you just allowed it to happen and didn't take command. So think about that and try it this week. Go get them. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Every single time I do this, I get a little more fired up and my bonfire grows a little bit more. If you're feeling the same way and like you got value out of this, would you do me a favor and go onto the show page in your Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to this and leave a rating and click follow? That way you never miss another episode of the show, and it helps me immensely to keep the momentum and keep bringing the good stuff for you. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.